You're listening to For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation.
Hello there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the beginning of our Maul Shadow Lord coverage here on For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation. I am your co-host, Andrew, and looks like it's just me today, rocking solo on the main pod for the first time. Oh boy, let me pull the curtain back for you. This has been what I'm going to refer to as a cursed week. Obviously, we knew Maul was coming up. We were really excited to finally get to talk about this show. Finally, we get new Star Wars animation back. This is the whole reason why we started this podcast in the first place, was to talk about the animated shows and the impact they've had on us. And then Diamond had some scheduling problems. Connor had some scheduling problems. I was able to find a guest. They had some stuff come up, so they weren't able to make it on, so they'll be joining us in a couple weeks instead. And look forward to that. It's going to be a fun time. So I'm like, I either delay it further and have it come out after the second batch of episodes, or I just push forward and record it myself. So this is going to be interesting. I have not done these recaps solo on this podcast yet, so this will be interesting. Also, you might be wondering, this is new? What the heck is this? This is the first video episode I've recorded in my new apartment. If you're watching this on video, I'm still trying to figure out lighting and the background. I have a lot of stuff I still need to unpack. I'm going to be getting more lights. I was able to squeeze my ring light right in front of me there. So we're going to adjust things as we go. But I'm enjoying it so far. Maybe I'll give a little office tour once I am more situated in this place. And we have the full crew here because I don't want to just show it to myself. I live here. I already know what this place looks like. So we're going to be talking about the first two episodes of Maul Shadow Lord, Chapter 1, The Dark Revenge, and Chapter 2, Sinister Scheme. I'm hoping to not keep you guys too long here. I just want to talk about these episodes, talk about how intrigued I am with this tone of Star Wars animation. Speaking of the animation, oh my goodness, is it gorgeous. It's striking. It's raw. It's more, it reminds me of Kylo Ren's lightsaber. But if that unstableness was the entire animation style of the series, obviously it perfectly represents Maul's, hidden or not so hidden, you can say, rage that just will not stop escaping. It's a very, very beautiful, strikingly gorgeously animated series. And I cannot wait to talk about it more with the full crew. But we're going to be talking about these two episodes. We're going to get straight into it. I don't want to do an archives where it's just me. But I do want to shout out, if you have not checked them out yet, we have our first two episodes out of our new Star Wars ranked series on the For the Republic podcast feed, Forging the Path. The last main episode we recorded, I was working on getting it together, but I hadn't recorded anything for it yet. I was able to record one episode, our first episode, in my old house. And then the most recent two I've recorded in this new place, which has been fun to get some stuff recorded and I guess kind of unknowingly prep me for having to do this episode by myself. If you can't tell, I am scared, but we're gonna have some fun here. I did record episode 3 that is going to be going up this Sunday. I'm recording this on Friday, April 10th as of recording. Hopefully this is going up on Saturday, and Sunday we will have our newest episode. It was going to be Maul related like last week's, but I couldn't get the list ready in time. And I also wanted to guest there. I wanted to do it with Donovan, but again, scheduling happened there, so that all blew up in my face. Again, this week has been cursed. I'm sorry. But you're going to have some fun with it. Something recently celebrated another anniversary that isn't a lot of these anniversary projects we've been talking about lately, and I'm very excited to talk about it and have some fun with that episode. Very nostalgic. That's all I will say. But let's talk about these episodes. Right away, they hit you with this is different in tone than your Clone Wars and your Bad Batch. What I like about Maul so far is it's not too adult. It's not like, oh, suddenly we're in Peacemaker or Daredevil Born Again. Like, this still feels like Star Wars animation. It still feels accessible to all ages, but it definitely is more leaning towards people that grew up with the Clone Wars. If you grew up with the Clone Wars, this show is your bread and butter. Getting some more grounded, gritty, mature Star Wars animation. And Bad Batch was pretty dark. It definitely grew up with its audience, and it was also, I would say, geared towards that Clone Wars generation. But I thought it was a great mixture of, we had our lighter and softer episodes, we had our more accessible to all ages episodes, and then we had our gritty, darker stories. Like, a lot of that Crosshair stuff is dark. A lot of the Order 66 stuff in that show is dark. This show, no exception. Start right off the bat with the Shadow Collective, Maul's Shadow Collective, intercepting this group of, I believe it was like some kind of bank heist or something, but it was going up against these two syndicates. Throughout this episode, we get two syndicates going at it, Vario's syndicate and Demas's syndicate. And we both know that they've wronged Maul in the past. I do like how they set up that the Shadow Collective is still a thing, but it's broken apart from what we saw at last in Clone Wars Season 7. The Pikes are doing their own thing. Vario and Demas, as we see, used to work with Maul, even though we're meeting them for the first time. But they betrayed Maul, and now Maul is out for revenge. And we just get the animation here is on full display. We get to see the Knight brothers, Rook Cast, and Maul just completely body these characters, and get to see the Janix police force also get involved and just get completely wrecked. Getting to see that shot that we've seen in the various trailers of Maul getting off that ship for the first time and igniting his saber. Chef's kiss. It was so good seeing that for the first time. Like, I was wondering, it looks good in trailers, but how is this animation going to translate to an entire series? Right off the bat, you see, it's familiar. It reminds you of the Clone Wars. It's the same overall style, but the differences they make to it to make the reds pop and everything seem more harsh and have more of a painting feel to it, I thought was tremendous, and it just looked great watching it on my TV. Like, I was just like, oh my God. And the sound design too, for Maul's lightsaber, everything sounds a bit more different, a bit more raw and gritty. And I love that. It came out this week that they inserted Sam Witwer's scream into like Maul's lightsaber ignition. And I think that is just the coolest thing in the world. Getting to add to the mystique and the spookiness, the scariness, and the threatening aura that Maul definitely has in this series. Loved this opening scene. I'm now going to spend some time talking about our new characters we are introduced to, specifically Devon, her master, and Brender Lawson. First of all, let's talk about my guy, Wagner Mora, voicing Brender Lawson, fresh off of an Oscar nomination. I'm so glad to have him in Star Wars. If you have not seen The Secret Agent, I highly recommend it. He's tremendous in that movie. I didn't love everything about that movie, but he is so good in that role. Very worthy of that Oscar nomination. And you might know him if you've seen Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. He plays the death, the wolf in that movie. And he has such a great voice for that. Just bone-chilling voice that he gives to that character. If you have not seen that movie either, highly recommend it. It was way better than it had any right to be. I remember being absolutely floored when that movie came out. But he's great here. Immediately, he was not what I was expecting for the character. I read the first issue of that Shadow of Maul comic, and it kind of made it out like he was going to be like Jim Gordon, but we're going to break a few rules here. We're going to maybe be a bit shady, a bit corrupt, but we're going to do everything we can to make sure the Empire doesn't get involved here, and he can figure out who this Maul guy is that's causing these problems on Janix. And he still kind of is that way with the Empire. He's every time Two Boots, who I love, every time he's like, oh, we should get the Empire involved, or his superiors like, oh, we're going to have to call in the Empire. He's very much like, no, we have other options, because he knows. Well, these other people might not know. He knows that if the Empire gets involved, they're not going to be leaving. And that's a very common theme for the Empire, especially at this portion of the timeline. Of you have these worlds, they're kind of doing their own thing. They're laying low. They don't want to cause the attention of the Empire, catch the attention of the Empire, because if they get it and the Empire comes in there to fix their problems, they're not going to be leaving. They're going to be having their thumb over that planet until the end of time. And I think Lawson knows that. But there's no like shade of like that corrupt, we're going to break a few rules kind of thing. He is very much like the good cop. Like, we're going to do things my way, but we're going to do it the right way. And I really immediately got attached to this character. I love how in the second episode, we have that scene with his son. I thought that was just such a great introductory scene to like kind of peel back the curtain. What's his life like outside of the police station? And to really make you care about the character, seeing that, yes, one of the first things we see from him in his office is his picture with his wife and his kid. So you think, oh, he must have a loving family, but you go to his home and he very clearly cares about his son, but there's some tension there because he's older and he very clearly has been around a lot, and his wife is nowhere to be found. Like, oh, I'm going to be visiting her soon. So it's like they're separated somehow. So I'm sure we're going to be learning more about their family soon, and we're going to be learning more about his son. Riley, I believe is his name. And that alone is enough to get me hooked. Like, I'm like, okay, I want to know more about this character. I want to know more about our new space Dilf and what his deal is, what makes him tick, what led him to this moment. And immediately I just was like, okay, this is my guy. I like him. I like Two Boots. I am hooked in on their story. I'm ready to see how we get this cat and mouse game between Lawson and Maul, where I thought like, oh, Lawson could be the Jim Gordon and Maul could maybe be like the weird fucked up Batman. Instead, it looks like it's going to be Lawson is Batman and Maul is his Joker. And I am very interested in seeing that play out throughout the series, especially now that we know that this is getting a second season. And let me just talk about that real quickly, because I am so excited that this show is going to be going multiple seasons, at least one more season, because while it was never said or really hinted at that this was going to be a one-season show, the marketing made me feel like it was going to be, especially a lot of the wording that they've had when discussing the future of Star Wars animation when the show was first announced at Celebration last year. It was, oh, we have a lot coming soon, including this. Let me show you what's next. And in every interview they have with Star Wars animation, it's always like, yeah, we got Maul coming out, and we also have some other stuff we're working on soon that we can't wait for you guys to see. So it gives off like, oh, they're going to be doing multiple shows at the same time. Or at least like, hey, we're getting Maul here, but then we're going to transition into this show. But I'm very glad that this is getting multiple seasons. I think it leaves the door wide open for more things. That episode I recorded of Forging the Path, when I was talking about characters that I would love to see in Maul Shadow Lord, that was recorded before I knew that there was going to be a second season. So in my mind, I'm like, I feel like it's only going to be one season, but I would love to see characters like an Asajj Ventress or a Dryden Voss or Darth Vader make an appearance or have their presence felt in some way, shape, or form in this series. Now that it's 2 seasons, they can take all the time they want to introduce these legacy characters. They can go the Bad Batch and the Rebels route, where they really don't have many, if any at all, in the first season. But as we get further and further, expand and get more of those familiar characters like your Rexes, like your Ahsoka and Rebels, those familiar Clone Wars characters, reintroduce them back into the story. And I think you could see that with like, oh, hey, maybe we have the threat of Vader or the threat of Palpatine, but we're not going to feel that until the second season. They very well could still do that in the first season. But it gets me excited that we're going to have a lot to play with and have hopefully 2, hopefully 3 or 4 seasons, which is what I'm hoping for, considering that the episode count for this show is lower than Bad Batch and Clone Wars and Rebels have been, which was another reason I was like, maybe this is only a one season, like, limited release, limited series kind of thing. But no, I'm glad that we got confirmation right off the bat. Nope, this is getting a season 2. It's refreshing to have a Star Wars show where immediately you're not just like, oh, well, I don't know if there's going to be a second season. Live action, we very rarely, besides Andor and The Mandalorian, had that luxury. Ahsoka got renewed for a season 2. We all kind of assumed it was going to get a second season, but when the first season ended, we didn't have that clarity. So I was like, I do really like this finale, but a lot of it depends on how if we get that second season. And we got the second season, and I feel a lot more positive on Ahsoka season 1 as a result. The Acolyte is kind of the reverse of that, where I enjoyed the season. I enjoyed, for the most part. There were some issues I had with it. I really enjoyed that season finale, but there were a lot of things where I was like, okay, my enjoyment of this and of the series as a whole predicates on, are we going to get a second season? Because a lot of it was open-ended questions. So I'm like, my overall enjoyment of how I feel about this as a final product depends on if we get to continue the story that they're setting up. And we didn't get that. And now I'm like, I feel less about that finale as a result of that. Skeleton Crew is another one where I don't have any negative feelings because I think it was wrapped up perfectly. But we've been thinking here for like a year and a half now, like, are we getting a season 2? Because some people are like, John Watts in interviews is like, yeah, no, I think we're going to get a second season. I would love a second season. And then there was recently that other thing that came, I think it was like an investors thing or something, where like it was shown in production schedules that Skeleton Crew season 2 is at least in the pipeline along with Mando season 4. But aside from that, we haven't gotten any official confirmation if we're getting one or not getting one. Again, whole different can of worms. The way it swept at the Young Emmys or whatever the name of that award show is, like, you'd think that it would obviously get a second season because it's doing so well for them. And I think it's the perfect Stranger Things meets Star Wars that they could do on Disney Plus. But again, I don't make decisions. But I'm hoping that the new regime makes better ones than the old regime. We'll see. Complete tangent there. I didn't think this was going to happen with just me hosting the show. But here we are. Again, very interested in Lawson's story. Devon and her master is another one, where right off the bat we are introduced to these characters. And we get to see it takes a spin, a different turn, and a different a different perspective of an Order 66 survivor. Because this is something that, yeah, it's cool every time we see it, but we're getting to the point where it's been done to death. It feels like every new Star Wars project that comes out that's in this Reign of the Empire era, we got to have another Order 66 survivor introduced. And they're lucky that the majority of them are cool and they become loved, usually right off the bat, or if not with time. Very few exceptions to that. Thankfully, I think Devon and her master, let me get this right, Iko Diodaki. They had to give him the hardest name there to pronounce that. That's going to take some time to just roll off the tongue there. But thankfully, I think that they beat the allegations or the worrying about, are these characters going to connect right off the bat, because we're getting a different perspective of them. We're getting to see them actually struggle. The first thing that we're introduced to them is Devon getting arrested in it and giving herself up to the Janix police force because she is caught stealing food. This is definitely not something we've seen before, where we have to see, like, we've seen them going through days, going and hiding. Cal was a scrapper. Obi-Wan worked at that like metal farm thing on Tatooine in Obi-Wan, doing like a lot of manual labor. We've seen a lot of that, of like blending into society, working everyday average Joe jobs, just trying to make a living and stay low. We've seen a lot of that. Actually having to beg for food and show that, hey, like, they need to survive. They're doing what they can just to live and put food on the table and be able to eat that day. Kind of like how we see Cad Bane in Tales of the Underworld. A lot of those early episodes, that first episode was just him as a kid trying to find ways to get food. And you see that here. You see the difference between the two of them. The master is very, we're not going to resort to stealing. We're going to do this the right way. And he tries to beg for food, and he's just completely ignored by this passerby. So Devon tries to steal some kind of fruit, is caught, is arrested by the droids, and she symbolically gives her robe, and I'm assuming her lightsaber, to her master, kind of showing that, hey, this is her kind of relinquishing that the overcoat, the exterior of being a Jedi, like the visual of, hey, I'm giving you my Jedi robes because now we're going to be going into this larger world of Maul, this new, different perspective of the galaxy. And a lot of Maul's conversations that he has with Devon revolve around breaking through that Jedi dogma, seeing the world in a new light, and using her as his new apprentice, using her as this weapon to go against those that turned against him and betrayed him. And I think this is a very interesting angle they're going with here. Obviously, there is a lot of parallels to a lot of the Sith masters and apprentices we've seen in Star Wars stories. I was talking with Mads, who we had on last episode, and she mentioned that she sees a lot of parallels with the Acolyte, with Chimera and Osha. And I now that I'm thinking about it, obviously, there was a lot more romantic aspects, enemies to lovers aspects of that story that we aren't getting here. But the conversations they had, where Osha would describe something in like the way that the Jedi brought her up, and Chimera would be like, "Oh, that's semantics," and she would bring up the bad things about the Sith and how their perspective is flawed, and he'd throw it back in her face like, "We're really just describing the same thing here. It's just different ways of going about it here." And I do, now that I think about it, like that was the one thing. The only similarity I was really thinking of is these are both shows focused on villain protagonists, focusing on the Sith and the dark side, and having that be our main character. Even though Maul at this point isn't a Sith anymore, he's more of a criminal underworld leader. But obviously, he's looking to get that new apprentice that he was searching for with Savage, with Ezra later on in Rebels, with Kira in a way, with Crimson Dawn. Again, I'm so intrigued of where this is going to go. I thought it was a great character introduction. And her really not saying much of anything in that first episode. Same with Maul. We don't see him talk for the first 10, 15 minutes of this episode. Just all silence. He finally talks to Rookcast, talks about setting up this gang warfare between Deimos and Vario, where he kind of sets the two of them up, has this meeting on neutral territory. We get to introduce the two really fun designs. Deimos is just like this giant character. He's a familiar Star Wars species that I'm, of course, forgetting the name of, which is just completely, my nerd cred is just gone now in some circles. And Vario is just this guy. He's introduced in this giant mech suit, so you think he's big, but he's just a tiny little dude. It's funny. He's really funny. He grew on me fast, where I was expecting him to just bite it in the first two episodes, just be like, "Hey, we're going to introduce you. All right, you've introduced us. You're going to die now." But he seems to be sticking around. I'm kind of glad he is, because I think it's nice that we're going to have, like, in a group of all these brooding, villain characters. I'm angry all the time. The world hates us. We need to conquer the underworld. Then you just got this wisecracking like mini Martin Scorsese. I just think that's really funny. And I'm digging the character, but he sets up this meeting between the two of them. They obviously don't know Maul is involved. They think the other two were the ones that initiated that bank robbery, stole that bank droid. They end up turning on each other. Deimos turns on Vario. They get in a shootout, and Vario kills him. And right away, I'm like, oh, okay, that's different. Then we get this cool chase scene between Vario and the Shadow Collective, where Maul kind of reveals himself. But he allows himself to get caught by Lawson, who catches on that Maul is involved here and learns about Maul and the Shadow Collective while not really still knowing the full picture there. And I like that we're going to be getting, even though we know the mystery of Maul, getting to see that full picture unravel and get to see the mystery unravel in his way throughout the series. I really enjoy it. It's kind of like The Acolyte. Another comparison, how we kind of figured out what the greater mystery of that series was right off the bat. But to actually see it play out and see how it went through was very compelling, where we were wondering, hey, hashtag what happened on Brendock? Who is the stranger? Who is the master? And even though we had a feeling of what those answers were, when we got them revealed, it was like, oh, okay, this is, now I'm interested. I'm liking that. Even though we know who Maul is, I'm very excited to see characters that have no idea who Maul is experience that in real time and get to go against Maul, get to know the details of the Shadow Collective. Devon to experience this new perspective of the galaxy through Maul, and whether or not she stays to being the Jedi or she succumbs to the dark side and she is the Darth Talon theory that a lot of us still have. I'm very intrigued of where this is going to go. The episode ends with a really, really cool prison break scene where they get Vario out of that prison. And he tells them, he tells Lawson, have you ever heard of the Shadow Collective? You need to keep me under lock and key. Do not let me out of your sight, because these bastards are going to come. They're going to kill me, and they're going to kill all of you. And we just get to see the brutality of this animation, the brutality that you are getting with this series. Because, yeah, there were moments in Clone Wars where we just saw, clones getting beheaded, characters losing their heads, characters getting stabbed with lightsabers. But a lot of the violence in Star Wars animation is through characters that are covered by masks, faceless characters, droids, clones, stuff of that nature, to where, we can hack and slash these guys, but it's not going to, get us a TV-14 or a TVMA, because you're not seeing blood and you're not seeing a lot of faced, known characters we can put a face to a name get completely hacked and slashed like this. So yeah, he's mainly killing police droids, and he's mainly killing nameless goons from the police force. But it's still so cool, man. The lightsaber igniting and just cutting down people in that dark corridor. Oh, it looks so good. It's it's like the hallway scene with Maul in the Siege of Mandalore, but if you just stylized it more and you turned down the lights and you gave him his saber and he can just go off on everyone. Maul, without the handcuffs of not having his saber, it was such a treat to watch every time we got to see some form of combat in the series, and just really show we're going to do cool things with this animation, and it's going to be a great time. So Maul, it looks like they're going to kill Vario, but he offers to give him information about the Pikes, offers to help Maul kill their leader in exchange for his life, in exchange for working with him. And Maul is like, oh, we'll keep you alive for now. I just don't know if he's going to make it through the first season, but I'm still liking the character. I'm glad that he's still with us. I didn't think I was going to like Vario when he was first introduced. I'm like, oh, this is a fun design for a one episode character. But the more we get through it, I'm like, no, I kind of like this guy. I want to see him live. But that last shot, man, holy shit. Talk about good animation. Devon in her cell, Maul turns around, sees her, and we see Devon approached by the literal shadow of Maul just approaching her. It looked so cool. And just the ending of the episode with her realizing, oh shit, this is Maul. This is her. And Maul at this point is like, hold on, you are the person I've been thinking about. You are the one that I sense is out there on this planet that's calling to me. You are the apprentice I'm seeking, and now you're mine. That got me. And a lot of this second episode is them having this back and forth. Oh, you're a prisoner, but you can leave whenever you want. This is your own free will. You can make these decisions yourself. But have you ever made a decision truly by yourself in your life, or is it what the Jedi wanted you to do? Is it the Jedi's decision that caused you to do this? Your worldview is strictly the view of a Jedi, but the Jedi are, no more. This is the time of the Empire. The Jedi are outnumbered. The Jedi are gone. Thinking like a Jedi isn't going to get you anywhere. You need to think like me. You need to think of and see the world in a different lens. You need to see it how I see it. And as he says in that second episode, I'm going to make her my weapon to take out all the people that betrayed me, that did me wrong. And like that is like, ooh, it gave me chills, man. Like I thought the first episode was tremendous. I thought the second episode was really good, not as great as the first episode, but the more I'm thinking about those conversations, the more I'm like, yeah, these have stuck with me. And it's weird because a lot of the time when I see, whether it's Star Wars or anything, something that I really like, I'm of two minds. Either I can talk about it for 6 hours nonstop. This will end up being like a 3-hour episode of the podcast. And I'll just nonstop gush about it. Cannot stop talking about it. Or I'll be like, this is really good. I really like it. But I can't. I'm like, oh, I really like it. It's cool. Had a good time with it. It's really, really like it. But I can't really put it into words. And I was worried when I was doing this episode by myself that like, this is going to be a 20-minute episode of the podcast. Because I'm going to be like, this is cool. I like Devon. I like Lawson. I like how Maul is kind of the puppet master of this series so far, the looming threat, the Shadow Lord himself. But like, what more can I say besides animation cool, and I'm really liking what they're setting up. I was worried it was going to be that. But the more I'm talking about it, even without being able to bounce off of Connor or Donovan, I'm like, no, I have a lot to say, actually. There's a lot that is packed in these 2 episodes. And as we get further into the second episode, there is the way that we just immediately cut right back into where we started. We get a previously on, which I don't think we've had for any of the animated shows. Like we have the Clone Wars, like, oh, there's trouble on Camino, like that stuff. And that like it gives you like, if it's part of an arc, it'll recap the previous episodes. But if it's like its own contained episode, it's just, hey, here's some backstory, some quick exposition. Let's get you right into the action. But like we get like a full on like previously on, like an episodic. They did say that this was very serialized storytelling, and I mean, it's new territory for Star Wars. But I like that it's like, okay, here's what happened last time. We're getting right into it again. Literally, we're seeing the escape from their prison break, and there's a great moment here where Master what is it again? Sorry, I'm so sorry. Iko Diodaki is just following them the whole time. There's a great like recurring theme throughout the second episode where Master Daki is just following Lawson. Lawson is walking down the streets going to meet a contact, and then he's trailing him. He sees someone following him, but he's not entirely sure. It keeps going, and it's just him following him to like stay on the trail and find Devon. And I just find that so compelling. Again, this isn't a character that's said too much so far. We don't know too much about the character, but we do have his like establishing character moment here where he stops their prison break, that their like speeder that they're escaping on, stops it. And Maul has a moment. Either he can be guns a-blazing, saber out, cut down this guy like Kylo Ren at the beginning of Force Awakens. You're so right. Boom. Or actually uses mind games and takes out this bridge, so he has to choose between saving his Padawan or saving all these civilians, and he uses the Force to keep the bridge up and save those people. And I like how Lawson like looks at him like, hey buddy, what you doing there? You good? You all right there? Like I don't know if he's like fully aware that, yeah, that was a Jedi using the Force and like I'm gonna let it slide. Or he's like, what's that guy doing with his hands? Like, why is he acting like that? Because there are a couple moments in the first episode, like, oh, he says he's proficient with a laser sword. I haven't seen one of those since the Clone Wars. So it's like, is Janix a place where Jedi and the Force were commonplace? Were they very rarely seen? Did the war come to Janix? Again, these are questions I would like to see answered at some point, because we do know it's about a year or so after Clone Wars finishes. I don't know where it is in relation to Bad Batch, if this is fully after the Bad Batch, if this is happening at the same time as the later seasons of the Bad Batch. again, I'm sure we'll find out a lot of these things as the show keeps going on. There's also a lot of great stuff about adapting to this new galaxy. Maul adapting to this new world on Janix, trying to retake what was once his in the crime syndicates. Devon, Maul telling her she needs to adapt to this new galaxy, abandon the Jedi dogma. Lawson now having to adapt to having this new presence, this new threat on Janix. Is he going to solve the case himself, or is he going to have to resort to calling the big bad Empire to basically assert themselves on this planet, and the planet will become no more of what he, I'm assuming, grew up on and went through the police force to protect this place, but now having the Empire come and invade. I'm assuming that's definitely something he wants to avoid, judging by these first two episodes. Again, I really liked Lawson's story in these two episodes. Again, that scene with his son was so good. I love how he was, oh, I finally got some time. I'm finally home. I can spend time with you. Immediately, he's called back into the station. He's just like, shit, I got to go work this lead. I'm sorry. And you just see kind of the beginning of the cracks between him and his son. You can tell that they've been distant for some time now. I'm very intrigued to see. Hopefully, he doesn't become like a Lita Mothma kind of character where he just turns against his father. I'm hoping he doesn't become like a rat for the Empire. But I could see him become someone that falls down a dark path and maybe joins up with Maul's Shadow Collective. There's been a lot of characters like that in Star Wars and in other forms of media where they go down a wrong path and they end up joining an opposing antagonistic force. I don't think he's going to become an evil character per se. I think Star Wars, with this show in particular, is exploring the moral gray, shades of gray in ways that they really haven't before. With this series, having it focus on a villain or at least a dark side character as your protagonist. Now, you can't have him be like an outright villain. Like, you couldn't do a show where Prime Imperial Palpatine is your protagonist just because, well, that's the most evil person in the world. There's no way we can root for this character. Maul, because he's so badass and because he does have that, like, every time we think he's going to get someone, he gets in his own way, and his anger is what costs him. It's his undoing. He's a character like that is a character that we can follow, and we can have these characters like Devon and like Lawson that bring us that more good, the light, if you will, in a show shrouded in a dark side character. But I'm very interested in seeing how Devon goes through the series. I really did like Lawson's contact. I liked how she's voiced by Gideon Adlon's mother. I thought that was a very nice touch, a nice touch by the voice acting group. The sister, by the way, of Odessa Zion, who's having a tremendous last year and someone I've become a big fan of as well. I'm hoping that her sister has similar success. She's done a great job with the voice performance of Devon so far. Really become a character that we're automatically already attached to. And I think the voice acting has a huge role in that, just the same as Wagner Moura has with Lawson becoming such an intriguing character. And of course, the same reason why Maul has become such an icon, an enduring icon with Star Wars, is not just the Phantom Menace now, it's Sam Witwer's voice performance. He's become the character. And now that there's that video out of him with like the Maul face marking, people are like, you know what? Fuck Ray Park. He's an abusive fuck anyways. Just have Sam Witwer play Maul in live action. You could make it work. And I think you really could. Again, he's the character to me now. He is Maul in a way that, like, during Clone Wars, people were like, oh, well, Matt Lanner is Anakin now. And I think now that's kind of shifted again to where Hayden is almost universally viewed upon as like, oh, that is Anakin Skywalker again. But like Ashley Eckstein, like, she is still Ahsoka to me. Like, I appreciate what Rosario has brought to the character. I didn't always love the way that they portrayed the character, or she chose to portray the character. in the first half of Ahsoka season 1 and Mando season 2. But I definitely see the Ahsoka I am more familiar with and fell in love with that character in the second half of Ahsoka season 1. So I'm hoping that changes. But like Maul to me now, he is Sam Witwer. And I very much look forward to him continuing to play this character for a very long time. Arena Sewell is the name of Lawson's contact. We're like, I was lucky to never have any deals directly with the Shadow Collective or with Maul. You should, make sure you keep your distance. Make sure you protect yourself because you do not want to mess with them. And again, there's that great moment afterwards where he exits that seedy club that he meets Sheena with or Rena with on the top floor. And then as he's leaving, you see him being trailed by Master Daki, and I thought that was such a cool visual of him just continuously just in the shadows. You have two people in the shadows in these episodes. You got Maul and you have Master Daki, and I think that's just a great contrast. And even though they teased their confrontation in this episode, I look forward to the actual confrontation, or maybe it's going to be him and Devon. I'll be very interested in seeing where they continue to go, because the episode does end with Devon escaping. She's able to get out of their mall the whole time. It's like, oh, well, you can leave whenever you want. You're a Jedi, or you're your own person. You can make your own choices. And she is able to escape from there. She's able to break free of that vault that she's been trapped in, her and Vario. With Vario again, like, oh, what the hell is this? Like, do you know who I am? As the Knight brothers are just throwing him in the vault. I found that so funny. But Vario is able to give Maul some information about a pike transport on Obadiah, and they just attack it right off the bat. I was like, okay, so way sooner than I thought we were going to be. We're off of Janix. We're going to a different planet. Maul just goes in there. There's that shot from the trailers of him just igniting the saber in his hand and just completely takes out all the pikes. Such a badass visual. Like, again, this is if Donovan were here, we would have this is so cool counter like we did with Clone Wars 03. Because so many scenes in this episode are just like, oh man, they're just so cool. He's able to send a message to the leader of the Pikes that he not only is he the one doing this mission, so he's not sending out someone to potentially lose their life in this. He knows he can do it, so he's going out and he's doing it himself. But now he's sending the message like, the Shadow Collective is back, and you're going to fall in line, or else this is going to be you. So again, we have a lot continuing. We have this continued war of Maul versus these other syndicates. The more they mention Crimson Dawn, it got mentioned 2 or 3 times in these episodes. And every single time they did, I perked up and I got excited. Because, again, if you missed my Forging the Path episode on Maul Shadow Lord and the characters I'd like to see, my number 1 was actually Dryden Voss. And not only is it because of the Solo connection and the Crimson Dawn collection, but again, I said it there, I've said it for the last 5 years. They have the model made for him. They used it in Clone Wars Season 7. You can't tell me that they just made it for that one specific scene and that's it. He's got to appear in this show, man. Like, he has to. I just want to hear Paul Bettany's voice again. I love Paul Bettany. I love his voice. It's a great voice. And I want to see him in this show. Again, it would be too early in the timeline for Kira, but at least something about Crimson Dawn and the more we know of them, because they're now lumped in with a lot of the like Black Sun and the Pikes and all those other syndicates that we knew were in the Shadow Collective in Clone Wars Season 5 and Season 7. So to bring them in there, like, retroactively being like, oh yeah, no, they were always there the whole time. We just hadn't made Solo a Star Wars story yet. So now we're including them. But I want to see him go to war against these other syndicates. I want to see more of the underworld on Janix. I want to see more of Lawson breaking down and finding this mystery. And I want to see more of Devon's inner conflict now. Like, does she adapt to this new galaxy by still embracing her principles, still embracing what she was taught and relying on the light side? Or does she start to get more corrupted by what Maul is feeding into her ear? And does she fall down a dark path? Does she come in conflict with her master? Again, all things I'm very interested in seeing them play out throughout the remainder of this season. But yeah, no, these 2 chapters were great. They were a great introduction to the show. Everyone that I follow or know that was either at the premiere or has seen some of these episodes through screenings, I believe it was the first 8 episodes that were screened to reviewers. They said it's amazing. They said it's some of the best Star Wars animation ever, and that's it's a tall task for me, but it's a very big compliment for me because, as I say here, animated Star Wars is the best Star Wars in my opinion. Clone Wars, Bad Batch, Rebels, you name it, it's all fantastic. And I loved the Bad Batch. I really, really loved the Bad Batch. And the more time that goes on after the show has ended, I appreciate it more and more and more. And the more supplementary material we get with them, the more I love them. So that show has had a lasting impression on me. So for people saying, oh yeah, no, it's better than the Bad Batch, I'm like, cool. And like it rivals Clone Wars. I'm like, okay, now we're talking. Those are big words. And so far, I'm like, I don't know if I go that far yet. I wouldn't say I was like head over heels in love with these episodes, but I am very, very intrigued of where this is going. That first episode was great, and that was a really good follow-up. Again, did kind of just like, it felt like it needed a bit more near the end. It was like Maul and Devon have that conversation, and then it just ends. And then Maul goes off and does his thing and takes out the pikes, and then Devon escapes. And it's a good way to end the episode as her escaping, but it's just like, I would have liked maybe a little bit more in there. A little bit, another scene with Lawson, another scene with Devon, another scene with Master Daki, where he's not just, trailing behind Lawson. Maybe just 1 or 2 more extra scenes for that second episode would have really put it over the edge and made it another just fantastic episode. But I am so excited for what we have coming soon. Monday, we're going to be getting our next 2 episodes, Chapter 3, Whispers in the Unknown, and Chapter 4, Pride and Vengeance. I cannot wait to see those episodes and to talk about them with all of you, hopefully with the full crew, or at least some semblance of the full crew next week to talk about it. So thank you guys for joining me for this different, weird, but still in my mind, I had a lot of fun recording this episode of For the Republic. Also, never realized how much I took for granted recording in a group for the last 4 years, because talking nonstop for a half hour, I was like, oh my God, I need to take a break. I am exhausted. People that have these podcasts where they talk just to themselves for an hour, 2, 3 hours with like very little breaks, hats off to you. Because holy shit, like doing Forging the Path by myself, it's fun because I pre-record it and I can just record it in batches. And I don't have to do it all on one go if I don't want to. This, I was like, oh my God, it's been a while and I'm not feeling that great. So like, oh my God, it got me near the end. But again, thank you for joining us here. You can follow me on all socials at Starlight Andrew, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at For the Repub Pod, on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at For the Republic Pod. You can subscribe to our YouTube For the Republic Podcast. We're going to have more coming soon for you guys, including our main series and Forging the Path. Just audio for now. We might make it video in the future, but that's just a treat for our podcast listeners. But we're still posting on the YouTube as well. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast, you should be able to find us there. Again, new episode of Forging the Path this weekend as well. And then next week, we will have our coverage for episodes 3 and 4 of Maul Shadowlord, as well as our continuing coverage of Clone Wars Season 2 as we continue to rewatch that series. So thank you again for joining us in my first full episode here in the new place. You're probably going to see some new additions and some changes to the background within the next couple weeks as I try to figure out things here. Definitely going to fix the lighting because it's kind of garbage in here the more I realize it recording this for the first time. But we're going to have some growing pains and we're going to have some fun. I'm very excited to talk more about this series with all of you and the rest of my friends here at For the Republic. So thank you so much for joining us, talking about Star Wars animation once again. But until next time, take care, and may the Force be with you.